This week, entrepreneur founder of Pure360.com, Crunch and freelance advisor Darren Fell joins me to talk to us about his entrepreneurial journey and experiences along the way.
Hello, Phil. Thank you very much for that.
Very welcome. Okay, so let's begin then with you providing us with a bit of the story so far bit. Just talk us through what you were doing in the corporate world, I guess, and how you came to start in this mad world called entrepreneurship.
Yes, and indeed it is completely mad. Well, I am fully certified as a mad individual to do all the things I do and risk as much as I do every single time. My past was in corporate telecoms. I started off in cable and wireless, did many, many years there. I had a little interlude with at the beginning of the internet with Frontier Internet Services as their sixth member of staff to help them sell. There were five techie guys with long hair, and we were the third ISP in the country, Pipex being the first one. There was another one which I can't remember. So I did about a year and a half in this startup, and that's where I caught the bug. So it was an interlude between my corporate world. I then went back after not really getting on perfectly well with the managing director at the time. What he wanted to do really was buy more servers and more routers rather than invest in marketing. So I obviously had a battle when I was trying to sell the product. But I got a small shareholding of Frontier Internet, and that proved to be very, very beneficial later when we sold it to Mistral, which was a Brighton-based ISP, who then got sold on to Kingston Communications. So I got a little bit of money out of it, but anyway, I'm going off subject. That was where I caught the bug, and once you catch the startup bug, you never ever can lose it. Now, after that, I went on to some professional selling, the area of my career, which is Morse computers. So it's one of the largest resellers of Sun Microsystems in Europe, and they were hardcore professional sales guys there, and I went in to sell Sun Microsystems initially into the education market, starting at Imperial College and the other universities, and then progressed up into the insurance market. Now, to be honest with you, that really didn't excite me, because however great the boxes were, you were selling bits of tin, very expensive boxes of tin, but it really didn't get me going. I then had a spell working for Bates in North Sydney, which is a fantastic experience as their e-commerce director. Travelled my way back, did another final spell in corporate telecoms with Colt Internet, part of Colt Telecom, and I was the pan-European account manager for Germany, the Netherlands, and working in conjunction with the UK. We did a lot of big multi-million pound hosting deals, primarily for the banks, where you could host your whole setup in Berlin, you could host a matching setup in Hamburg, you could then host another setup in Zurich for the lowest latency possible. But what happened is that I was fighting continual politics of a managing director who managed Germany, a different managing director, of course, who managed the Netherlands, another managing director in the UK, all wanting to do things slightly differently. So an overlay sales function, as I was in, was a nightmare, and that forced me to walk into my MD's office and say, stuff this, I've had enough. So
talk me through how Pure 360 started and what exactly it did.
Well, that was the start of the story, really. That if you can imagine, I was actually quite well paid, but I'd sort of forgotten that when I went in and said, I've had enough. Because in any sales role, you're allowed to go on gardening leave. If you say you're going to a competitor, or you say something that upsets them enough to let you just go, and they carry on paying you. So I got home that day to my little tiny flat in Battersea, where I'm actually talking from now, and all I had was an idea for a party portal that would allow you to create an invitational page all about your party, an HTML email invitation that would get sent out. If you remember at the time, this is 2001, there was only text mails really going out. Follow it up with a text message on the day of the party. Handle all of the RSVPs from that. Allow the doorman to actually print out the door list, and then afterwards the person could upload all their photos and videos about the party, and that was the concept. Now, a year and a lot of money, not massive amounts, but about 50,000 pounds of money I'd saved up for a house in Brighton got spent on this, and I realised there was absolutely no way I was going to make enough money to live unless I had the marketing budget of, say, Coca-Cola. So I remember sitting down on my sofa. It was I think it was just before Christmas, thinking, I really have ballsed this up. Then I thought, wait a minute, a lot of people keep asking me for the email and the SMS marketing system that we put together for this party portal. Why don't I just turn that into something that I can use easily, and therefore if I can use, any other marketeer can use it, and I'll create a great, as they called it then, it was ASP software. So it was an application service provider software. I think they called it SaaS now, software as a service. And I set about in my little front room with my cheap IKEA desk, tapping away on a spec for a system that would ultimately turn into the Pure 360 email marketing system, and it had to be incredibly easy to use, as I said, so I could use it. It's always a damn good reference point. And at the time, all we had was Email Vision and some American software firms, and Email Vision was charging £2,500 a month, and you quite clearly needed 2 marketing degrees to be able to use the thing. Yeah. And I wanted to bring a product to market that was incredibly easy to use, so I could use it, and it started at £45 a month and scaled up, and it would be able to be used by very small businesses, one-man bands, agencies for their customers, and major brands. And I went to all of my mates who were in the web business and learned how to properly spec out a product. And that's where it all started, Phil.
Okay, so obviously that was the idea. Is it fair to say that you didn't need anywhere near the same kind of marketing budgets for that than you anticipated you would have needed for the first concept? And was that because of the viral? Was it something that spread like wildfire in terms of the word of mouth, or did you have to raise some finance to do the marketing on that product too?
Well, no. I'll carry on with the story if I can, and you'll see that the marketing there was no money for the marketing, and I'll guide you through how I raised the money. So, if you imagine me in this tiny little flat armed with specs 3 months later, I put a very small team together of a programmer and a designer who could design the user interface. And I moved back to my college town in Brighton. I couldn't afford an office, so we got a tiny bungalow. The front room was converted into the office with some desks from an alien ISP. I had one bedroom. The other guys we called had the room called the barracks, and they worked from there. And this was all through the summer of 2002. And I'd got out there and I was talking to some agencies, one of which was Lateral and the chairman, John Baines. Now, they had some fantastic clients and they were as anti-spam as I was. So in February of 2003, I went in to present to the whole of their account director team. I didn't know which account they were interested in using this email marketing application for. We built it in 6 months, following all of my specifications, and I showed them a fully working email and SMS marketing system, and they said, yep, we'll have it. John, which customer is this for? And he said, it's only for Levi's. So that was a fantastic moment, as you can imagine. It was almost like a footballer, because I'm sure as I ran down Shoreditch High Street, I did pull my shirt over my head with my hands in the air, going, oh my God, I've got that first biggie. And if you imagine, this is Levi's buying us, their top agency like Lateral choosing Pure, but they didn't know we were running out of some tin pot, little bungalow in the back of 7 Dials. But the website, the application, the telephone, when they called in on the main 0870 number, it was routed through to an all-day PA-like service, so it was 24-hour answering, everything. It was all about perception. It looked a professional operation. So I'm coming to answering your question about the marketing. We won Levi's, and we carried on building the system and proving it to them. It was absolutely the right choice, and they stayed with Pure for years and years afterwards. Now, the marketing aspect, if you think I really didn't have much money, we got a reasonable amount of money out of Levi's, and then I thought, yes, I can sell it to every agency. They're going to love this. If Levi's are going to choose it, and Latch are going to choose it for such a top brand, I can walk into all the other agencies. And I was proved completely wrong. It was such a hard job. Selling into any agency that's got so many people knocking on their door is an impossibility. So I tried to hire some sales guys. I couldn't find anybody. If you think email at that time, 2003, was still very, very, very early, sort of days, and people were just doing direct mail.
Incredible, isn't it?
So yes, what I had to do basically is I had to get out there. I had to be the salesperson. I had, in effect, to sell the proof of concept of where email should take each of these businesses. I had to go and sell direct to the major brands and the medium-sized businesses, and I was the only salesperson of Pure. So to answer your question of marketing, there was none. It was me. I worked my absolute socks, pants, everything off. I set up a little desk in my bedroom. All the techies and, well, all three of them in the front room are tapping away, improving the system with Levi's. We then won Faber and Faber, another account from Lateral, and then Maison Hotels. And all I was doing every day was on the phone, cold calling. From about 8 in the morning, so I could catch some of the more senior guys while they're having the coffee, grab them while they're at their desk, and I was selling in the appointment. So I would then come up and actually demo the software. So I did that 5 days a week, and I just went into whirlwind mode. Now, how did I finance all of this? I remortgaged my flat in Battersea. I was obviously then renting it out as well, and I was living in my office, or the bungalow in Brighton. I got every credit card under the sun. I got car loans for cars that didn't exist. And the impetus to turn me into the most amazing cold caller ever known to mankind was the fact that if I didn't make it work, I was going to be a bankrupt.
You see, that's extremely interesting, though, because what do you think? Do you think enough entrepreneurs or people who start small businesses, do you think they realise and are prepared to do what it takes when it comes to rolling the sleeves up, particularly if they've come from a corporate background that arguably could be a little bit cushy? Maybe there's an ego issue about having to actually make calls. Do you think that's something that new small businesses and entrepreneurs sometimes struggle with?
Yeah, I think there's very, very few people that actually are prepared to pull out all the stops and to take every risk possible. And I spend, at least every week, there's one set of entrepreneurs I will sit with who need a bit of help, and just for a couple of pints of whatever they're going to buy for me or a pizza, I'll sit there and help. And there's a lot of people that won't go the extra mile to really make it work. They expect some things to be handed on a plate to them, and to make any business work, you have to just give up your whole life to making it work. And with in the early days of Pure, I didn't have any one fixed girlfriend. I didn't have a wife. I didn't have kids, so I could risk absolutely everything and put in silly hours and the weekends and get away with it.
So it's that really big question, I guess, that people have to really think carefully about at the start is, am I prepared to do what it takes to make this work, I guess?
Exactly. I mean, the more presentations I do out there, the more I've actually realised that it isn't for everybody. And although I love advocating getting people out of the corporates and, going to do their own thing, there are people that it doesn't work for. People there are people who love the security of having, a regular wage coming in, who can't quite grasp the risk-taking necessary to really make something work. Like, a lot of people won't remortgage their places because if it does go wrong, they're obviously going to lose the roof over their head. So, yeah, it's not for everybody, and I really get people to question their real motives. What's really at the heart of them driving them forward? And for me, I think after years of being in the corporates, I just have to be creative. I love creating things, and I didn't feel my creativity could be ever utilised in any of the corporates, and it drove me mad.